It started like any other Tuesday. The university library was quiet. In the corner of the lost and found office, a simple cardboard box sat waiting. It had been there for months. The box was unremarkable in every way. The lost and found was managed by a student worker named Leo. The box had become part of the scenery for him. He never thought to open it. But today was different. Leo felt a pull towards the box. A weird, unexplainable curiosity. He walked over to the dusty corner where the box sat. He peeled back the tape. The sound it made was loud. In the silence, Leo lifted the flaps and peered inside. Inside the box, there was nothing but a pair of headphones. They were old. The design was from another era. They were big and bulky with large padded ear cups, the kind you might see in an old movie or a recording studio from the 70s. The leather on the headband was cracked and worn. The silver plastic was scuffed and scratched. A long coiled cord was tangled at the bottom of the box. They looked like something you'd find at a flea market, something someone had thrown away without a second thought. They were definitely not modern. Leo reached in and picked them up. They were heavier than he expected. The padding on the ear cups was surprisingly soft, despite its worn appearance. There was no brand name, no logo, no markings of any kind to suggest who made them or where they came from. They were completely anonymous, just a pair of vintage headphones. He wondered who they belonged to. A music student, a professor, someone who has simply forgotten them after a long study session decades ago. The questions hung in the air, unanswered. His own earbuds had died earlier that day. He had a long shift ahead of him. The silence of the lost and found office was starting to get to him. He thought, why not? What was the harm? They were just sitting here collecting dust. Maybe they still worked. It would be better than nothing. A little music would help pass the time. He looked around the empty office. No one was watching. It felt like a small, harmless crime, borrowing something that was already lost. He untangled the long black cord. It was surprisingly sturdy. At the end was a standard audio jack. It would fit his phone perfectly. It was a strange mix of old and new, the ancient-looking headphones and the modern jack. He felt a little thrill of excitement. It was the most interesting thing that had happened all day. He plugged the jack into his phone. He opened his music app and scrolled to his favorite playlist. He was ready to escape the silence. He was ready for some noise. He had no idea what he was about to unleash. Leo placed the large headphones over his ears. They blocked out the faint hum of the library. He pressed play, waiting for his favorite song. But there was only silence. Then, a faint hiss, like an old radio searching for a station. Beneath the hiss, a whisper emerged, a murmur of voices. Then a woman's voice, clear and close, like she was right behind him. "Please," she sobbed. "Don't let him find me. Please help me." Leo ripped the headphones off, spun around. The library was silent. The headphones weren't just broken, they were haunted. Before Leo's discovery, the headphones were a mystery. They arrived at the university, lost and found, over a year earlier. A campus security guard, Dave, found them on a bench, late one cold autumn night. He noted their unusual vintage appearance. He logged them as found property. He placed them in the lost and found bin. No one ever claimed them. Per university policy, they were moved to the central lost and found office in the library. The headphones were tossed into a box with other forgotten objects. They were on the verge of being thrown out, but their story was just beginning. The student workers noticed them. They looked like they held a story. They just looked at them and then put them back in the box. The headphones waited patiently for their next chapter. The first rumors started quietly. They began with a student worker named Chloe. She worked the late shift at the library's Lost and Found. Like Leo, she was often bored. One night, she decided to catalog the items in the old box. She pulled out the headphones. She was intrigued by their design. On a whim, she plugged them into her laptop. She wanted to see if they still worked. She put them on. And what she heard made her blood run cold. She didn't hear music. She heard whispers, faint and scratchy. Chloe told her roommate about it the next morning. She described the sounds, the overlapping voices, the feeling of dread that washed over her. Her roommate laughed it off. She said it was probably just radio interference, or maybe the old wiring was picking up stray signals. It was an old piece of electronics after all. What did she expect? Chloe wanted to believe her. She tried to convince herself it was nothing, but the memory of the voices lingered. The fear felt too real to be just a technical glitch. The story began to spread. Chloe's roommate told a friend in her chemistry class. That friend told her study group. Soon the story of the creepy headphones was a whisper in the library stacks, a piece of campus gossip. Students would dare each other to go to the Lost and Found. They'd ask to see the headphones. Most would just look at them, feel the weight, and then get scared and leave. It became a sort of legend, a minor myth on a campus full of them. The headphones were no longer just lost property. They were an attraction. But the rumors were still just that, rumors. No one had any proof. It was all second-hand information. My friend's cousin's roommate heard something weird. It was easy to dismiss. It was a fun, spooky story to tell late at night in the dorms. No one took it seriously. Not really. It was just a way to break up the monotony of studying. A little thrill. The headphones remained in their box, their mystery growing with every person who retold the story. They were becoming infamous, a piece of campus folklore. Every legend needs a skeptic. For the headphones, that skeptic was Mark, an engineering student who believed in logic and data. He thought the stories were ridiculous. He went to the Lost and Found ready to debunk the ghost story. He plugged in the headphones expecting silence. Then whispers started. A clear voice said, "It's not safe here." He ripped off the headphones, face pale. The recorder showed nothing. Mark left with no answers, only more questions and fear. After Mark's failed attempt to debunk the legend, the story exploded. He was known for being a rational, no-nonsense guy. If he was shaken, then maybe there was something to it. The headphones were no longer just a rumor. They became a full-blown campus curiosity. A rite of passage. Students, reporters from the campus newspaper, and even a few curious professors made the trip to the Lost and Found. They all wanted to experience it for themselves. The line between a spooky story and a real phenomenon was starting to blur. The headphones were now the most famous item on campus. The Lost and Found office became an unofficial tourist spot. The student workers had to create a sign-up sheet. You could book a 5-minute slot with the headphones. People would line up, a mix of nervous excitement and genuine fear on their faces. Each person who listened came away with a different story. Some heard nothing at all, just static. Others described the same chilling whispers and pleas. A few reported hearing distinct words or phrases. "Help us, get out, he's coming." The experiences were inconsistent, which only deepened the mystery. The campus newspaper ran a front-page story. The headline read, The Phantom Frequencies of Founders Library." The article detailed the history of the headphones. It included anonymous interviews with students who had listened to them. One student was quoted as saying, "It felt like I was listening to the last moments of a dozen different people all at once." The article treated the story with a playful skepticism, but the details were chilling. The legend of the headphones was now officially documented. It was no longer just word of mouth. The university administration took notice. They were not pleased with the growing spectacle. They saw it as a distraction, a liability. They issued a formal statement. They said the headphones were simply a piece of old, malfunctioning equipment. They warned students against creating unnecessary panic and superstition. They ordered the lost and found to stop allowing students to use them. For a short time, the headphones were locked away, but this only made people more curious. The administration's attempt to quash the story only added fuel to the fire. The legend was now forbidden, making it all the more enticing. The administration's ban didn't last. The student newspaper, the Campus Chronicle, pushed back, citing freedom of the press. Journalism student Sarah Jenkins led the charge, seeing it as a piece of campus culture worth investigating. She argued locking the headphones away was censorship. After a week, the university relented, agreeing to let Sarah conduct a formal investigation. She had access to the headphones in a controlled environment. Sarah set up her equipment to document each session. She was determined to find the truth. Sarah's first subject, Ben, approached the headphones with curiosity. Sarah placed the headphones over his ears and started the recorder. His expression changed. He tore the headphones off, shaking. "They're not just voices," he stammered. "It's a memory. It's someone's last memory." Next was Maya, an art student, known for her expressive dark charcoal drawings. She wasn't interested in the science, but the emotion, the reported fear, resonated with her. She brought her sketchbook, believing the experience would translate onto the page. Maya put on the headphones and closed her eyes. Her hand started to move, charcoal scraping the paper. Sarah watched, fascinated, as a face emerged. After minutes, Maya stopped, dropping the charcoal. She looked at her drawing, confused and horrified. It was a haunting depiction of pure fear. "I didn't draw that," Maya whispered. "It drew itself." Kevin, a music composition major, approached the headphones with a musician's ear, interested in the sound itself. He scoffed at the idea of ghosts, believing the sounds were feedback. But then his professional demeanor crumbled. "There's something else," he said underneath it all. It was music. A distorted children's nursery rhyme. Slow, off-key, and deeply unsettling. "Make it stop," he pleaded. He ripped the headphones off. "It's not an illusion," he said. It's designed to drive you insane. Sarah reviewed her notes. The interviews had left her shaken, the psychologist, the artist, the musician. Each experience was unique, yet a common thread tied them together: fear. The headphones played on the listener's psyche, targeting their unique vulnerabilities. It was more intelligent than she imagined. The real question wasn't what the sounds were, but why they were so effective. It was as if something was listening, choosing the perfect sound to terrify. She was more afraid than ever. It could craft a personalized nightmare. The legend was real and terrifying. Sarah Jenkins's article turned the headphone legend into a campus-wide obsession. The administration, feeling the pressure, knew they couldn't just lock the headphones away this time. They needed a definitive scientific explanation. So they called the university's audiovisual department. The technical experts arrived at the library basement. They were dismissive of the ghost stories. They were sure the answer lay in the hardware. Yet their instruments revealed nothing out of the ordinary. There was no internal power source. There was absolutely no physical reason for them to be producing any sound. Frustrated, the technicians wrote their report. The headphones were, from a technical standpoint, perfectly normal. It was a psychological issue, not a technical one. Their scientific explanation was that there was no scientific explanation. The experts failed, and in doing so, they only made the legend stronger. With the mystery unsolved, the administration called in Dr. Alistair Finch from the physics department. Dr. Finch, a renowned expert in electromagnetism, approached the headphones as a scientific anomaly. He placed them in a Faraday cage to block all external signals. If the sounds were environmental, this would silence them. The microphones inside the cage picked up nothing. Silence. Disappointed, Finch decided to try the headphones himself, expecting nothing. The whispers began instantly. Inside the most shielded room on campus, the impossible happened. The voices persisted. The sounds weren't from outside, they came from within the headphones or the listener. Dr. Finch, a man of science, was left with no explanation. The rational world had no answer for what he just experienced. Word of Dr. Finch's experience spread quickly, deepening the mystery. The administration, desperate, turned to Dr. Eleanor Vance, a parapsychologist known for her work on psychic phenomena. Dr. Vance listened to every account and saw a pattern. Each experience was deeply personal. She theorized the headphones acted as a psychometric resonator, amplifying the listener's own subconscious fears and memories. The whispers weren't ghosts. They were echoes of the listener's mind, shaped by the object's strange properties. Each person heard their own anxieties reflected back at them. The headphones, she said, were a dark mirror, not a haunted artifact. Dr. Vance believed such objects were often imprinted by intense emotion or trauma. The headphones had witnessed something terrible and now forced others to witness their own darkness. The university had no way to prove or disprove her theory. Dr. Vance's theory was too unconventional for the university to accept. The administration wanted a simple fix, not a supernatural enigma. With no scientific explanation, they closed the investigation. Their official statement: no cause found, object removed for safety. But secrecy only fueled the legend. The headphones became a campus myth, their mystery unsolved. The lack of answers left a vacuum filled by fear and speculation. The story grew, immortalized by the university's silence. The headphones were now a symbol of the unknown. The most chilling part of the story was still to come. The headphones didn't go to storage. They were entrusted to Sarah Jenkins, the original investigator. The dean asked her to keep them safe and quiet. Sarah locked them away in her apartment, determined never to use them. But curiosity spread. Friends and strangers begged to hear them. Sarah resisted, but pressure mounted. Finally, her trusted roommate Jessica pleaded for a chance, hoping to help her struggling brother. Reluctantly, Sarah agreed, just once. Under her supervision, she unlocked the footlocker, hands trembling. The legend was about to take a new turn. The headphones would speak again. Sarah set up the headphones for Jessica, bracing for the usual terror. But Jessica's reaction was confusion, not fear. She heard whispers, but also a clear voice repeating a name. Leo. Sarah was stunned. Leo was the student who'd first found the headphones. No one else had ever heard a specific name. Jessica described the voice as lost and sad, not menacing. The headphones pattern had changed. No nightmares, no horror. Just a plea. Jessica removed the headphones, bewildered. Sarah realized the object was telling a new story or returning to an old one. The mystery deepened. The headphones were no longer just a mirror. They were reaching out. The name Leo haunted Sarah. She tracked him down and arranged to meet. Leo looked exhausted, haunted by something unseen. Sarah told him about Jessica's experience and the voice calling his name. Leo confessed he'd been hearing whispers and seeing things for months. Recently, he'd heard his own voice pleading for help, saying things he never said. The night before, he heard his own voice say, "Don't worry, Sarah is coming. She'll help me." Sarah felt a cold dread. This was more than a memory, it was a warning. The headphones hadn't just reflected the past, they were predicting the future. Sarah realized she wasn't just the gatekeeper. She was now part of the story. The legend was far from over. Faced with an impossible choice after her meeting with Leo, Sarah knew the headphones were a threat. That night, Sarah decided she had to make them disappear. She wrapped the headphones, placed them in their box, and sealed it. In the dead of night, she drove to a deserted bridge. She held the box over the railing, and with a deep breath, she let go. The box hit the water and sank into the depths. She had done it. For a few weeks, the voices faded for Leo. For a brief moment, it felt like the nightmare was over. But some things don't stay buried forever. The peace didn't last. A month later, and the stories started again, but different. Not whispers, but sightings. Students reported seeing the headphones in the library or in locked cars. They were apparitions, echoes of the headphones at the bottom of the river. The legend had detached itself. It had become a specter haunting the campus. Some even claimed to hear them, a nursery rhyme or a desperate whisper. Sarah and Leo realized getting rid of the headphones hadn't ended the haunting. It had just set it free, infecting the campus itself. To this day, the story of the headphones lives on as the university's most enduring and terrifying piece of folklore. New students are told the story during orientation week. a cautionary tale whispered in dorm rooms. The headphones are presumably still at the bottom of that dark river, but their echo remains potent on campus. What were those headphones? A cursed object? A psychic mirror? The story serves as a stark warning that some things are not meant to be found, and some sounds are not meant to be heard. So, maybe you should hesitate before you plug in and press play. You never know what you might hear.